All right, let's get started. So thank you guys for all joining this month's Lunch and Learn webinar. We're going to be going over a deep dive of reporting. My name is Christina Riddell. I'm part of the marketing team here at Jen. Is the technical team. She's going to be walking you through the deep dive on reporting. And then once she is done, Q&As. So if anybody has questions as we're going through, use that Q&A button at the bottom. I'll be tracking it, and then at the end, we will go through and answer any questions that you guys have. So Jen, if you are ready, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Christina. As Christina said, today's Lunch and Learn, we're going to focus on reporting, specifically on ThriVersA, and we're going to take a deep dive into this. If you've been watching the Lunch and Learns, we have done a basic overview of reporting previously last year, so that would give you a more general overview of the reporting and navigation in ThriVersA. You're very welcome to go back to that. We'll be touching on some of that while we're going through, just organically as it comes up, but this is to give you a bit more of a deeper dive to show you some of the additional offerings with reporting and the capabilities of the reporting. So I'm going to be focusing here on the Manage module of ThriVersA, so I have that up right here. This is where the financial reporting is housed, and it also has the sales reporting, so we're going to touch on both of those. Over here on the left, navigating between the different sections of ThriVersA, so I'm going to start with the financial reports. So if you are familiar with the reporting that's available currently in SMS Pro, some of these do look familiar. We have the store single totals, the store multi-total reports. Those have been brought over to ThriVersA, and there's been some additional capabilities added to that. And they've also added a compare totals, which we're going to go into. Some of the other ones down here, these are like the accounting report, the store totals report. And if you're familiar with SMS Pro, these were brought over. They're pretty similar to how they were brought over from SMS Pro to ThriVersA. So just going to go over the more ones that have the additional capabilities up here to start with. So the first one is if you have the store multi-totals. That's a pretty common report that a lot of people do run with SMS Pro. So we'll start with the additional capabilities that have been added into ThriVersA with that. So the first one is right here is the period. In SMS Pro, it was always day, week, month, year. They've added the capability to break those down now. So you just got a total for the week, the month, the year. Now you can do week by day. You can do month by day, month by week, year by week, year by month. So you can really drill down into that kind of detail. This wasn't available in SMS before on all the reports. Now they brought that over and it's now available. You can get all these reports broken down by that. So that's a nice capability that was added. You can also add a bit more flexibility with the selections, the criteria that you have. So you could always choose the different targets, and with multi-totals, you want the different totalizers, but there's the more criteria. You can really drill down and focus if you wanted to on a range of totalizers. Or you can also just look at movement. This is a pretty common request we get. We want to see like our top sellers, amounts, weights. With financials, it's not really used too much, but they have added the capability that you can look at any quantity higher than totalizers, amount higher than totalizers. So if you're curious like what tenders you're taking more of or anything with your net sales, your bottle sales, anything like that, you can set amounts that you'd like to see higher or lower than. So for this, I'm just going to go ahead and we'll show the week by day, and use the by date down here. Whenever you do any period up here, week by day, month by day, that you want to have it broken down, you do need to make sure that the breakdown is selected. And then we'll just go ahead and execute the report. So first glance, you can see right here, you can see the breakdown by date. I have it, my week was set the 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th. So I have my non-resettable grand totals. I have my sales for each day, my taxes, plus, and going through. You can flip through the various pages down here. pretty simple. I've gone over this before, so just if, like I said, if you wanted to go into that navigation, all of these columns are customizable. You have the ability to add additional columns if you see something missing you would like to add. So you can just click on the drop down and add any of these additional information. If you're in a multi-store environment, you might want to add the store details. If you're not interested in seeing one of these behind, you can remove that. So I don't need the totalizer number. That doesn't mean anything to me, so you can remove that so you just get the totalizer description. That's still all available. But the additional capability that's been added that I wanted to go over was you can also pivot these reports. So if you're familiar with Excel, pivoting is this little icon right here. You can take the information and look at it in a different way. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And now you really can build your own report. This is a lot of the flexibility that was added with the reporting. So you can decide what values you want to see, what you want for the rows and what you want for the columns. So for example, like my rows, I want to see quantity and amount. So that would be the values that I want to see. And you can see the report is building over here as I go. So what do I want to have as my rows? What would I like to see over there? So we can go ahead and add our totalizers and our totalizer descriptions if you want to see the word, because totalizer numbers doesn't always mean a lot. So you can build the report and have it show up so you can really see what you would like to. If you're looking to add columns, especially the idea that we just did this by date, you can have as your column, you can come down here and you can drop in your end date for the columns. So instead of getting this kind of report where you have to look at it in a linear format, you can now look at it side by side. So you can see here's my Sunday, here's my Monday, and you can go through. I have a lot of data for Wednesday and Thursday in my report, so you can get that side by side comparison here. Another option is if you are doing like a multi-store, if you're in a host environment, you can always go back, remove them over there. You could do this by store number. So if you had multiple stores, you could have your store 1, your store 2, your store 3, your store 4, and have them all side by each other. Instead of, if you're looking at the report, you'll always get them as line by line in here, whatever way you would prefer to look at the data. So you really have that flexibility to be able to do that. If you are familiar with what I went over previously, yes, you can still export these to Excel. The button is always available right here. You can also print the report. If you come up with a report that this is the report that I would like to continue running, I'm just going to switch back to the end date just because that's a little bit more data there. And you want to save this format for later. This little 3-gear icon up here, you can save this layout. So if you click on this, you can click on Saved Layouts, give it a name. So you could say this is my 7-day weekly, whatever makes sense to you to remember it. You can name it after yourself, whatever works. And you can click to make it public so other people, if they're logged into ThriVersA, can come in here and use that. It will be available to them. You can also make it the preferred default layout, so it will defaultly go to this whenever you run this report and you do a pivot. You can make it for public and private, so you can make it preferred for just your login, or you can make it preferred for everybody logging in. So once you do that, you can just go ahead and save it. I'm just going to give it a name here, 7-day week. I'll save it. So the next time you come in and run this report, you'll have that right here as a drop-down selection. So I have a couple in here, so you can have a few choices. You can have as many layouts as you would like. It's a nice additional feature that's been added in here. Really gives you the ability to be able to look at the reporting in a different way and to get the reporting customized how you would like it, and then save that customization to be able to use later. Going all the way back to our original set of reports that we were looking at for financials. The report that was added in here that is really useful is the compare totals. So this is, as I'm going through these, I'm going to go into the sales report next. This is available for both financial and the sales reporting, so I'll show you both. But what this allows you to do is it allows you to compare 2 sets of information. you can decide how that works for you. So, for example, you can come and you can decide to compare day by day. So you can go up here, you can pick your period, and then you pick your main date and you pick your compare date. This could help you if you're doing, maybe you want to see how you did the day before Thanksgiving this year versus the day before Thanksgiving last year, or look at the last 2 years to kind of give you an idea of how busy you are. You can break this down by week, by month, by day, by year. All those selections are still here. You can go through and so you can look at the week before. Again, Thanksgiving tends to be very busy if you want to see how busy you are, or maybe the week before some holiday coming up like Memorial Day, see for staffing purposes or stocking purposes. That's one that you can compare. You can also select down here your different targets. So generally, RAL is going to be everybody. It's going to be everything, all your lanes at a store level, all your stores at a host level. Maybe you want to look at how certain lanes are doing in your store. So you can come down and you can choose 2 different targets. So I have lanes 1, 2, and 3. I want to see what lane is busier, lane 1 versus lane 2. In a store that may have self-checkouts, you could pick your regular lanes versus your self-checkout lanes. See how they're doing against each other. Are your self-checkouts very busy certain days and your regular lanes are not busy? You can have those 2 as targets. We can help you set those targets up so you can have all your regular lanes in a target, your self-checkout lanes in a target. In a multi-store, you could have a different store. You can compare store 1 versus store 2. You could have a group of stores as well. So you can really drill down and decide what you would like to look at. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to look at today versus yesterday and execute just so you can see what the report looks like. So right here, you have your main date and your compare date. If you were doing targets, it would be your main target versus your compare target. If you forget what you selected, up here you always have your date, and then over here you have your compare. So my main date is the 27th, my compare date is the 26th. So that will hold true through all of these. If you were doing targets, it would be showing right here. So if you did like regular lanes versus self-checkouts, it would be up here. Just like with, again, all the reports, when you are running a report, you always have that flexibility with the columns. You can add and subtract columns. You're not worried about looking at the weight. You can remove that. You can move these around. You just click and hold and drag. If you wanted the amount first, you can always do that. But this gives you a really nice way to do a comparison side by side and look at how you're doing as a store financially side by side. You also have the ability to pivot this information right here. That is available. So you can come through and you can pivot the information and really build that custom report like I just showed you how to do in the multi-totals. I'm going to take the time instead, since I just showed you how to do that, to switch over to sales reporting, just so you can see the differences that were added, the flexibility that was added into the sales reporting. So if you are looking for the sales reporting, the way that this is broken down now in ThriVersA is they've moved it all, for the most part, under dimensions. So if you're looking for your department totals, your sub-department, category, family, report codes, vendor, and your hourly reports, they all are going to be under dimensions now. The couple exceptions I always say to that with the sales reporting, if you're looking for by customers, it's going to be under customers, and items is under items. They just broke those apart because there's a lot more to do with that. Going through these, I'm just going to click on a few of them. You can see that they are very similar as you're going across the board. So you can go in your departments, you have your single total, multi-total, compare total. Sub-departments, same thing, single total, multi-total, compare total. And as you go through category, family codes, they have those up here as well. Departments and sub-departments tend to have the most. There is some more breakdown that you can do with the reporting. This is where you'll have like your inventory movement, your inventory value reports. So those are additional ones that are available underneath those two that are not going through the categories and family codes. I'm going to just use sub-departments as an example. It tends to be one of the reports we see run most as items are tied to sub-departments. So I'll just focus on this, but realize whatever I'm doing will flow right into any of the others. So departments, categories, all of those, it's all going to be the same idea, just in using those as what you're running it on. So since I showed you the multi-totals, I'm going to show you the single, for financials, I'm going to show you the single totals. So single totals, again, the flexibility that was added with that day, week, month, year, and you can do that breakdown by week by day, month by week, year by month. All that flexibility has been added into the reporting in ThriVersA. So that's one enhancement that has been done. And then down here, if you are familiar with this report, this in SMS Pro, you are always able to either choose all of the subdepartments or a range of subdepartments. You can still do that. If you click on more criteria, you can pick one specific subdepartment, or you can do a stop and start for a range of subdepartments that's available. But the flexibility that was added here is you can select subdepartments. So you can click on the drop-down menu, do a show search tool, and you can actually manually pick which subdepartments you would like to include. Maybe there's a certain subset that you just want to look at in here. You have a certain certain subdepartments you use as that's kind of those are your main ones, and you want to see how those are behaving. You can easily come through and you can select whichever ones you would like. You can leave it open-ended for all. You can also use under the more criteria, and this is more utilized with the sales than with the financials. You can now use the quantity higher than, quantity lower, amount higher, amount lower than. So you can see if you're looking for all the subdepartments that are selling at least 100 items, you can look at that quantity higher or lower than that threshold that you've decided. Your low performers. You can also look at it amount, your dollar amount higher, because those two will differ. Weight as well. And then a very requested report that we get a lot is your top based on quantity or your top X based on amount. So if you want to see your top 10 subdepartments based on quantity, top 20, top 30, you can set that amount in here. Top 10 based on amount, top 20 based on amount, whatever information is that you're looking for, you can come in here and you can do that. You can easily just click on whatever one you want and then fill in your criteria. So for top X based on quantity, you can do your top 10 based on quantity. All of the criteria stack. So if you did do a certain subset of subdepartments and then did your top 10 out of those, that would stack. It's up to you how you would like to utilize it. I tend to like to leave this open-ended, and I'll show you why after I run it. Go ahead and execute. So if you leave it open-ended, you can actually have the flexibility of doing sorting by ascending or descending based on the quantity, amount, and weight. So you can see your top ones just organically looking at this. So you can come in and you can do my top 10, my top ascending right here by quantity. So there's my top by quantity. And then, I want to see it by amount because that can differ. So I can switch right over here and now I can see it by amount. So you can do it at the beginning, or you can come in here and just be able to flexibly go through all of them, weight, amount, quantity. One neat thing that was added in here is you do have the ability to drill down from the subdepartments into items. So from departments, you can drill down into subdepartments. From subdepartments, you can drill down into items. So if you're this is my bulk items. I sold 23. I'd like to see what 23 items. You can easily come and double click on that and see what items you sold and how many. So you don't have to go run a different report. It's right here. It'll drill down right into there for you. Another feature that was added, they do have the ability to pivot, but an additional feature that was added was charting with the reporting. So if you look at this little icon right here, it looks like a chart. It's like an L shape with a little arrow going up. You can click on here and it will actually build charts for you. So if you're doing some sort of presentation or you want to see a little bit different view of how you're doing, you can come in here and you can run a chart. They have 3 different ones available. So you have the 3D bar, the 3D pie, and the linear chart. So over here, you're able to switch what values you're charting off of. So if you're looking at the quantity, this was the quantity sold. If I'd like to see the total amount, I can come in here and see the amount by dollar amount. So you can see, well, my quantity was pretty even, but by dollar amount, my meat items really skyrocketed what I was selling in that. And then you can also always do your weight. So if you're looking by your weight, again, it's my meat department, which makes sense. You're always what you're selling by meat. The minimum and maximum, I'm only doing this on one day, so it's not going to change because my minimum and maximum is going to be the same But if you were looking over a time period, you could come and look at the minimum and the maximum amount that you sold over the time period. So down here, you can look at this in a 3D chart, a 3D pie, and you have all those same selections. So if you're just wanting to look at it more of like in a pie format, that chart makes more sense to you, you can easily do that. As you hover over the various pieces, it will tell you. So this is my jam subdepartment, and I had my quantity was 12, so I'm on quantity. If I switch this to amount, as I hover over them, you'll get that same information where you have your meat, and then you have your amount for $399. It also does have the color coding down here, which is nice. The other chart, the last chart, is the linear chart. So this is just going to be giving you in the same information in a linear chart form. So you can again switch between quantity, you can switch between dollar amount and look at all that information in a linear form. You can save these and you can print these. So if you are using them, like I said, for like a presentation, maybe you just want to post your numbers every week so all of your associates can see, anything like that. You can save it to a PDF up here, or you can print it. There is no saving this criteria or layout with these because these are built as you are building the different sales reports. So whatever it may be, subdepartment, department, it'll just build these automatically in the background. So you can't save the layout for that, but you can save and you can print these actual charts, so that way you can have those if you would like to. So those, before I forget, like I said, I do focus on the subdepartment, but these are the same things with department, category, family codes. The only difference is that besides what I went over was the idea that you can drill down into the items. Not all of them have the ability to drill down into items. Departments go to subdepartments, subdepartments go to items. The other ones don't drill down. But the last thing I did want to show again was that compare totals. This was added in here. Again, it's the same idea as that financial compare totals. Just now you're looking at it by your sales. You have the same idea, the same options that were available with the financial. So you can look at that day, you can look at week, you can look month, year. You can compare those two up here. You can compare your two targets. So you can look at your targets for maybe self-checkouts versus regular lanes for sales. Again, this is the idea where at a host, you could look at a store compared to another store or a group of stores. By default, it will go to current store, so it will look at everything. You cannot compare one subdepartment to another with this. You're still going to be selecting your subdepartments. So it's more meant to compare to targets. So registers or self-checkouts or dates. Those are the main things that this was built for. So I'm just going to go ahead and run this so you can see what it looks like. I have my dates again for today and yesterday. So now you can see it's going to give me that breakdown since I'm running it by subdepartment. I have how I did in the produce department today versus yesterday. My main date is today. Yesterday is my compare. So you can see how you're doing day over day and how I'm doing by dollar amount and weight. And so this can be very useful, especially if you're looking at this, trying to plan ahead. You can compare the weeks from last year versus the year before even to kind of get an idea of how it's trending. See how you're doing. See what you may want to do for staffing issues. See what you may want to have for just ordering ahead for those busy type weeks. This is a very useful tool for that. So that was what I wanted to go over. Christina, did we have any questions come in?
We do have one, and it was right at the beginning when you started this subdepartment. So I'm not sure if it's relating to that, but it's what is the Analyze button at the bottom of the item's single total screen?
So the Analyze button down here is going to be, so if you're going to want to change any of the criteria that you were, that's the best way to put it. It kind of does different things. But if you're wanting to change any of the criteria that you did from here, like when you're setting your wizard, you can change it after you run the report. So you see how I have the breakdown by date, by store. Just going back in here, because it'll do the same thing in all the reports. I can do that by date, by store, and then I can also drill down into the item. So like I showed you before, like you can, I'll just select one of the subdepartments, and you can drill down into the items. or you can come and I don't think it selected that. That's why, sorry about that. So you can drill down into the item list. You can also drill down to the items compare total. So here we go. Let me pick a subdepartment. I have sales for the 2 days. So I can go into the compare totals and I can look at that by item. So it's a different way to drill down into it. The other thing that you can do with the Analyze button is that you can do a subquery. So if you have the data in this report and you want a subquery, so you want to do a deeper even dive into the information that you have in the report, we'll just select a few of them. So you can do an Analyze and you can do a subdepartment subquery, and you can just query those subdepartments for the data already in there and do an additional report. This can get very complex when you're doing item, especially if you have like a subset of items that you want to analyze. You get that item list, you want to do a query on those items, really do a deep dive into what they are doing and how they're performing.
Awesome. That was the only question that came in. We did have a lot of, oh, hold on, we just got another one. I tried running the compare totals report while we were going over this, and it loaded by comparing 2 days, but no data loaded when comparing week by week.
Okay. Could we get that? We could take a look at that. We can open up a help desk ticket, or we could assist you afterwards. It could be that the data isn't, it sounds like a task may not have run to add to the weekly total, so we could definitely take a look and see why that's not working for you.
Okay. So Molly, we'll get back to you on that one and let you know what is causing that issue.
Yep.
All right. We did have a lot of people very, very interested in the new pivot charts that you're able to pull. That was definitely a thumbs up from a lot of the viewers.
Pivot charts are very interesting because they give you a lot of flexibility to build your own report.
Right. Awesome. All right, guys. If nobody has any more questions, then that is all that we have to review today. If you do have any other questions that pop up or you run into any other issues while you're trying to work through any of this, on the screen, you'll see the help desk and the main office number, as well as the QR code goes to one of our forms that you can fill out to get more information or answer any of your questions. So if everybody is good, then we can call this a day on this webinar, and please come in next month where we'll be reviewing more of the new ThriVersA layout. All right, have a good day, everybody.